Hello, gang. My name is Charlie Coiner, and I'm the owner of First Down Playbook. I'm also a 30-year coach. And welcome to our youth football chalk talk that we've been doing now. This will be our fifth one that we've done. And like Kendall just mentioned to you, they're all in First Down Playbook. We record every one of them and save them into different sections, offense and defense, for coaches to use later if you're a First Down Playbook member. We really enjoy doing this. Our intent is to try to get you ready for the youth football season. And we know right now that, a lot of speculation out there whether it's going to be a season or not going to be a season. The way we tried to approach it at First Down Playbook is there's only one thing you can do as a football coach, and regardless of what level you're at, and that's get ready. I mean, you can't not be ready if you end up playing. If you end up preparing and something happens, you don't play, then you just start getting ready for the next year. And I know it's a little bit different for you guys and gals out there who are coaching and also have jobs and families and all that. But really, at the end of the day, it's not that much different. Right now, all you can do is get ready. I do want to point out, and Kendall will talk about this a little bit at the end, we do have a COVID policy in place where if you don't play, essentially what you do is you're good to go till next season. And, once we tried to once again approach this from a standpoint of control what you can control. We're football coaches. We've got the best football help out there for playbook-wise for coaches at all levels, and so that's what we do. So tonight, gang, we're going to talk about the youth football counter. And what I've done here is I've just loaded up this counter, in our search engine, and you can see we've got 3 really whole pages of counters in First Down Playbook. And if you look at anybody that knows anything about First Down Playbook knows that every one of these is drawn up against multiple fronts and run both ways and coaching points the whole bit. So we've got a lot of information in here about how to run a counter. There's a lot of different ways you can run a counter. Essentially, the definition of a counter is that you're trying to run a play back to the other side, but initially you're going to sell the base play. That might be a sweep. That might be a dive. That might be, it could be a lot of things. It could be an option to one side. But what you're going to do is you're going to come back away from where you start with a counter, and then thus its name is counter. So it's really important as you get into running a counter. The first thing that I think is important is that you better have your base play, and you better run your base play well. Because if you don't run your base play well, and we'll get over here and just pick, we've created a playbook for you tonight where you can see we've got a lot of different ways you can run the counter. You can run it with the same running back, meaning the running back starts one way, comes back another. You can run it with a separate back. You can run it for wing or slot. You can run it as a trick play or a gadget. I think what we've got in here is probably a jet sweep, even a quarterback counter, which is essentially a boot, but it still can be a counter. Then we've got a couple counter examples, one from college and one from the NFL I want to show you because they give you great examples. But let's just open up this playbook right here and look at this same running back counter. Now, we're in First Down Playbook. All we've done essentially is just create a playbook. So I'm going to open up this 2-back counter and use it as we start talking about the counter. And it's drawn up as a default out of a 6-2. And that's important that you understand exactly, what front you may get as opposed to what counter you're going to run. So let's get back to what I was just talking about here. The thing that you've got to do initially with a counter is you better have your base run that's hitting on all cylinders first. So if you look at this play right here, which is, you can see the football, this is a hand-back counter right here to your wing out here in a double wing formation. But what's happening first is that your quarterback is coming out, reversing out, and the only way this is going to be a very good play is if you've already run, some type of run right here to where it's an option with the quarterback coming out, pitching it to the 3-back, or the quarterback keeping it. And once again, and I always point this out, we draw our youth football plays. We draw them larger just because younger players, we think it helps them focus on what their assignment is. It's not to scale on the field like it is with our varsity plays. Now, you can always take the field background out of this play as well if you want to. But anyway, right now, you can see where the play that initially has been run here is some type of play. It could be an option, speed option. It could be a quarterback keep. It could be a toss to this 3-back. This 4-back traditionally is probably going play side over here to the right, okay? The 2 is the one that's totally doing something different than what he would typically do. And then you've got obviously a pulling guard back over here that's doing something different. But essentially what you started out with here is you started out with some kind of play over here to the right side. Now let's get to the counter part of it, right? Some of the things that you need to look at if you're going to be coaching a counter play, and you're not going to run into it quite as much at the youth level, depending on how old your players are, but it's all about making the linebackers move. It's all about making the second level players move away from where the ball is going to be going. So in this situation right here, what you're hoping is that these two backers will get moved over here to get them in position to where your puller and your down back blocks are going to be able to get on your backers. So in the youth level, you're probably going to get most of the time your backers keying the backs. You're not going to have to worry as much about them keying the guards and the tackles pulling. Now you're going to get, as you get to 10, 11, 12, you'll start getting into more of that, where traditionally backers are taught to look through. Let's just go ahead and get it in edit option here. Well, no, I don't want to yet because I want to show you some different fronts. But these backers are taught to look through the guards into the backfield. So you can see right here, we've got the tackle pulling. There's a lot of different ways, once again, to run counters. You could also pull the guard and leave the tackle in. That's entirely up to you. Some of it might have to do with your personnel. But let's just look at right here across the board, the assignments for this double wing counter. So what we're doing is, and I'm going to go play side, meaning over here to where the counter is coming first. So obviously your 3 is coming in motion. It's really important that your players that are not involved in the play side counter are good actors. Like this 3 doesn't need to come out here and become a cheerleader. The 3 needs to come in motion, normal motion, just like they would be if they were getting the ball. And when the ball snapped, come across here with some tempo, bend your knees, bend your waist, act like you have the ball, because every step that you can make these backers and safety and even these corners take is going to help. Now back over here, what we're trying to do in this front, if we want to get a double team at the point of attack. So in the 6-2, the way we got it drawn, we've got them head up in this case right here. Your tight end and your tackle are going to double team the end back to the backside backer, all right? The number 2 backer. All right, now, the guard is just going to base in this situation with a 6-2. Your center and your guard in this case are going to block back to allow your tackle to pull. Now, the technique for the tackle to pull, a lot of different ways to teach it. You know, I've heard people call it the pick and point. In other words, pick your left foot up here and point it. But at the end of the day, that when the ball is snapped, you want to throw your elbow and you want to open your hip up, open that knee up to the sideline over here. Teach your player that you've got to turn your numbers, all right, and run right down this 48-yard line right here. And you've got to get going. I mean, it can't be a slow deal because you're just going to get in the way if you do. So open up with your left toe, point to the sideline, throw your left elbow, and get going with your right step and come across here. Now, in this situation right here, what's going on is you'll see this tackle is kicking out this backer, all right? Some people might even call that an end in youth football, but they're going to kick out the end man on the line of scrimmage, and then back over here, your tight end is going to cut off. Now, we're going to look at some different fronts here as well. Now, as your fullback, once again, right, what I would coach them to do is at youth level, maybe go right, left, right, and then come back, because you've got to give that tackle some time to get across. And if the fullback just takes one jab step and goes, probably what's going to happen is he's a better athlete than that tackle, and he's going to get there too soon. You want the tackle to get there sooner. So I would go right, left, right, put your right foot in the ground, come back across, and you want to actually read the block of this tackle if you're the fullback. You want to become a tailback yourself without the ball. So now you've got the kick out, you've got the fullback up on the play side backer, you're double teaming to the backside backer, and then what's going to happen here is your quarterback is going to reverse out. The fullback has got to get out of the way. That's another reason to take 3 steps, right, left, right, clear for that quarterback to come under, and then the quarterback will hand off to the 2-back with his right hand. All right, a couple different ways you can do it. You can come across, he can hand it off underhanded, all right, meaning with his left hand, or he can hand hand it off over the top of his right hand. You can actually make that decision yourself. But the key is that has to be coached, whether you want your 2-back to be over top or underneath on this. It can be coached either way. Now, if you were to take the 2-back as he comes over, what he needs to do is he's going to read the block of the tackle and the fullback, and this should be a play that hits up somewhere inside. Not saying that it can't bounce, but typically it's designed to run off of this double team. Now, if you'll notice who is not blocked, it's the corner. Now, a lot of times in youth football, that corner may actually have that 3-back right there, man coverage. He may actually start across in the motion with him to cover it. So you keep that in mind. You might actually end up with a great play over here with one more blocker than you need, or enough blockers to block everybody. So let's go here. Let me shrink my screen up just a little bit. Let's take a look at just some other fronts. And I'm going to spend more time on this one than I do all the other ones, just because I think it's a traditional youth football play. So let's look here. A 4-4, really the same thing. Same thing with the exception that, the backers are off the ball a little bit. But our blocking scheme, if you've got a 7 technique, what we call 7 technique is inside out of the tight end. Tight end can block that pretty much by himself. But then you got double teams to the backside. And then you got your center and your guard blocking this 2 technique with the tackle back. Kind of the same thing in the backfield. Now let's take a look at an odd front. All right. We'll go look at a 5-3. Okay, now with a 5-3, and once again, we're playing, we've got it drawn up, head up. You may end up getting shades or whatever. But now what we've done is we're double teaming. All right, this tackle back to the middle backer, double teaming the nose to the backside backer. We're calling it Sam because we're calling this strength formation over here to the right. Same thing, pulling, kicking out the end. Okay, everybody else has pretty much got the same job, but you've got a hat on a hat. You should be in good shape. Now, the one guy that you do have to account for, let's say that this corner were to come over here in motion with the 3. You still could have to account for this corner coming over late when the 2 leaves. So and you also have to be careful with your handoff and your exchange right here of a corner coming off the edge and blowing it up. But you typically are not going to get that with youth football. And then we'll look at one more thing here with the 5-3 bear. All right, kind of the same thing. Now, you'll notice that what we've got going on here every time is we got the tackle kicking out. You can have deals where the guard and the tackle will actually pull up inside. And I think I've got a couple of those shown here as we get to it. All right, let's go back to our playbook. And all of these have coaching points in it. And I'm going to start opening it up and actually hitting the edit mode here once we get to some of these others. Let's go back in our playbook. All right, let's look at what a fullback counter would look like. Now, this is just one example of the counter, meaning that you could have another back. We've got it drawn out, this one drawn out of the wishbone. And then once again, you can see right here where we're kicking out again, but this time with a guard. And it's drawn up against the 6-2. But really, let's look at what this play probably is run off of. You've got the quarterback reversing out, coming over here, probably the same thing. Probably some type of dive option, right? All right, you've got where they've been running the dive, and then the quarterback is faking the dive, coming out here, either keeping it or pitching it to the 3. But in this case right here, now we're pulling the guard and the tackle, okay? Now, you got to be careful about that sometimes, because if you're going to pull both of these, you see we don't have anybody even blocking this end right here. And that can be dangerous. The person that's blocking the end is going to be this 2-back right here. All right, so let me get, well, once again, I want to show you some more fronts. But the 2-back, as he fills, 1 or 2 things is going to happen here. Either he can block that end, or he can have a good enough fake where that end is just going to tackle the 2. That's how that end is accounted for. All right, so now let's go back over here and look. The thing that's different about this one is that typically what you're going to be doing is you've got really your 3, all right, or your quarterback or the traditional ball carriers, but now your 4 or your fullback, and you could edit this out and put your player names in there or whatever, is going to take a step to the right and come back with an underhanded handoff, over the top handoff. He'll take this with his right elbow up. The quarterback will hand this off with his right hand. He'll reverse out, stick his right hand out. Fullback will have his right elbow up, secure it, and the fullback will read the block of the kick out by the guard, all right, and the tackle pulling up inside. Now, the thing that's different about this is that now you've got your tackle pulling up inside. You've got really the same kind of pull steps, all right, in my opinion, the way I would coach it, because you've got some people that would coach a skip pull to where you stay square and get up inside. I think you coach these exactly the same. You want to throw that elbow, but you want to coach this guard now to get up into the line of scrimmage. You don't want them to be so deep that that backer or that end beats them underneath. So they want to make sure they win inside. They want to block the first thing that shows up off of the butt, the left cheek of this tight end right here, this F tight end. Now, how do you coach this tackle on this one? As he does the same thing. He wants to throw his left elbow. He wants to open up to the sideline, but he also wants to have his head on a swivel looking inside. What I see a lot with youth football is overcoaching this player that's turning up inside, and you're telling him exactly where he's supposed to turn up. You don't know, because you don't know if they're going to stunt inside, if they're going to slant outside. The way that I would coach this tackle or anybody that's supposed to turn up into the line of scrimmage is you turn up as soon as you can. As soon as you get to the other side of the center, if it happens to be here in the A gap, so be it. Get up inside. Get a hat on a hat to second level. If it happens to be in the B gap, so be it. It might even be out here in the C gap. You hope it doesn't, because you don't want to see that play get stretched that much. But don't overcoach this. You know, when he looks at you and says, well, Coach, who do I block and when do I get up in there? You're blocking the front side backer, all right? The front side backer, number one, off of the ball. But how you get to him, be an athlete. Play with your eyes. Get up inside. Try to block it with outside leverage, meaning you want to have your hat on the outside of him right here. All right, let's go back. Let's look at a couple different fronts here. Let's go back and look at a 5-2 where the safety's coming down. All right, really the same thing. Now, they're double teaming back here to the backer. This safety just essentially becomes the third backer. All right, now you notice that right now we got this tight end, because he's got a 9 technique, just trying to block inside. If that end were to stun inside, he'd take him. But if he doesn't, get on up the next level and try to get this Sam backer right here. You got a double team on the nose guard, the backside backer. And you can see where even in our play drawings, we've got really the false step that you hope to get out of the linebackers when they do this. Trying to keep an eyeball on my time here as well. Now, Kendall, I think she mentioned this earlier. If you've got questions now, you can go ahead and use the chat functionality, but go ahead and you can put them in there for Kendall now, so she'll already have them at the end. I'll stay here as long as we need to answer all your questions, but you don't have to wait to the end to put your question in. If you're like I am, by the time you get to the end, you've forgotten about it. So here's a 5-3 bear. Well, a bear, in our sense, is really where you just got everybody covered up on the inside. You got the nose and 2 guards. When you get this, you really don't have a choice but to block back. You got to block everything down, because you got to get these 3 players right here blocked for sure. And then you kick out, and this is a good example of, because you've got really the A gap and B gap full, this thing might all get all the way out here into the C gap with your guard pulling. And once again, if you're not a member of First Down Playbook, I just want to show you, there's your coaching points for this one play. I mean, and we've got it drawn up against multiple fronts, and you can flip that play, run it left and right, the whole bit. So there's a lot more detail that I'm not going to probably get to tonight on all these plays. But I just want you to get the idea of where we're going with this. All right, let's get back over here to the playbook section and look at another different way that you can run a counter play. Okay, so now, and we already really did this. We had a wing or a slot. This is a different one right here. All right, let's look at a Y counter. And this is out of it's not a traditional, the first one we saw was a double wing, traditional youth football formation. This is more, and I know some of you are coaching some older players, and you are, getting more spread type offenses out there. And this is pretty much a 2-by-2 formation or a spread formation. You just have a tight end in here. And so a lot of coaches are also playing with what we call rounds and reverses and jet sweeps and things like this. This is just a way right here that if you're running kind of the same play we had at the first one, where you got some type of dive option, veer option, with the quarterback faking to the 2 or handing to the 2, keeping it around the edge, pitching it to the F, whatever. But all you're once again doing is you're getting that base play down and you're getting the backers moving. Get them moving, get them moving, get them moving. And then what you're going to have is you're going to have a situation to where you're going to be blocking back, kicking out, but you're going to hand this ball off to the Y underneath as you're coming. All right, so obviously you've got to have some separation running the counter this way between this guard and this tight end right here. So this tight end right here might even have to take a counter step himself to the right or just pick it up and put it down so that he gives this guard a chance to get out of his way. If not, you don't want to have the guard. They can be so close together that the tight end can't read the block of the guard. So let's just take a look. As the quarterback comes under, he's going to hand it to the tight end with his left hand. The tight end will take the handoff with his left elbow up. And now once again, the tight end is going to read the block of this guard. If the guard kicks out, he'll come up inside. All right. If the guard ends up logging, then he may end up actually taking the ball wider or up inside, depending on what the blocking scheme is. So let's take a look. Let's go look at a 5-2. All right, once again, kicking it out. Tight ends up inside. And what you're trying to do, and this is a Bear defense right here. We've kind of got our defense a little bit out of whack here, it looks like to me. Let's go back and pick a 5-3. Okay, this one is correct. So as you get this right here, you're counting on those backers stepping over play side so this double team can come off on them, okay? And then what you want to have happen over here is you're counting on the Sam backer having to play over here to the strong side. Because if you look at the option responsibilities, somebody's got to be a quarterback player, somebody's got to be a pitch player, and somebody's got to be a dive player. So you're not blocking the Sam backer with anybody physically. You're blocking him with the initial play assignments. All right, let's go back to the playbook. Now you'll notice, and I'm gonna come back to it here. Well, let me go ahead and open it up again. What we had in there also is we had a counter keeper, all right, but it's a pass off the counter keeper. Now, oftentimes this is just called a bootleg or a counter pass, but you can see right here what we're doing is this is coming off of a deal to where maybe you're faking it to the 2-back coming across, you got the 4-back, but you've got the 3-back coming this way, and they're going to be the lead blocker. Now your quarterback is going to reverse out, right? Have some type of fake right here with the 2, maybe the 4 and the 2, but as they come out in this counter right here, it just becomes a pass. And it's going to be really 1, the F tight end over the top to the Y2, and it's just a counter pass. Now, depending on what league you play in, some of you play in a league where the quarterback can't run, all right? But if you play in a league where the quarterback can run, this is just a simple deal to where you go 1 to 2 to tuck the ball and run. He makes a go call, and then he takes off. And then we've also got I'm going to show you a play in here to where the quarterback is keeping the ball all the way. But really any type of bootleg pass that you've got, it's the same thing except you're throwing it. It's a counter play. You're selling the play over here. The quarterback's coming out the other way, all right, and it's going to read one tight end over top the other tight end, all right, to the run. Now, this is a pass play. We don't draw the defenses in with the pass plays because for the most part, what we do with pass is we gap responsibility. We've got everybody gapping, all right, to the right in this situation here. Obviously, if you ran it the other way and your quarterback, maybe it'd be better if you had a left-handed quarterback. Everybody's going to gap to the strong side, all right? Okay, now let's go to, not sure if I opened this one yet or not. No, I haven't. Okay. Now I've got this called as a gadget, but really it's becoming a base play for a lot of coaches out there, even at the youth level. So this is just a counter, all right? It's a jet sweep counter. Now the one thing that you're going to notice that you look at this play, and I'm going to show you a play just like this, that the Clemson ran it, and before we get off of here. And nobody's pulling on this play. You know, everybody is essentially blocking play side. They're reaching everybody play side, just like a jet sweep. And we're going to have a whole session on the jet sweep coming up here in a couple weeks, and we'll talk about this. A lot of coaches don't block all the players in here on a jet sweep, and I'm going to show you one tonight with our video where they don't. But everybody essentially is just reaching hard play side, and what you're counting on is you're counting on these two backers to get caught up once again in the fake in the backfield. So you've got your quarterback in a shotgun or a pistol type alignment right here. They'll take the snap, and it can be run really one or two ways. The best way to get moving on these backers is if your quarterback opens up to the left and they're coming out like it's some type of speed option over here, 1 to 2. But then the quarterback will stick his hand out, his right hand out, hand it to the X as the X is coming under with a jet sweep. Now, I talked about this a couple weeks ago when we were talking about the sweep. You got to be careful about this. This is not as easy as it looks on the drawing right here, because you can have that ball on the ground back here, people kicking it around and all that. So if you're going to run this play and you're going to run it to where the quarterback actually is going to start to the left as he hands it, you better work on this. You better work on the X understanding that, you know, because he's coming in motion right here, but he better slow his tempo down, make sure that you can get that handoff, particularly if you're dealing with younger players. And another way of just running this play is snapping it, letting your quarterback just hand that ball off and then take off, because you've got your two back can counter step and come back, and you can and get the draw of the linebackers with your back, all right, without taking your quarterback and running him over here initially. But once again, that's based on the skill of your players. Now, let's go in here and take a look. You can see where if it's a 5-3, really there's no different. Everybody is just going to block play side, and what you're doing, once again, is you're just moving these backers with the play action in the backfield here. I'm going to show you a really good shot of that here in a second on video. Okay, now let's take the look right here. Quarterback counter, quarterback boot. You know, I already showed you this play right here, the pass off of it. But here's the same thing, but what you're doing is the play is drawn up and it's designed for your quarterback to keep all the way. In other words, there is no pass. There is nobody going out for a pass. So if you'll look, it's a very similar play to what we had drawn up, to where the fullback was actually taking the ball over here. But now what you're doing, and once again, that's dependent on the rules of your league, but if your quarterback can run, now you're in great shape, because now you're getting a puller by the guard, a puller by the tackle. These backers right here, if for older players, and they see a guard and a tackle pull, you can bet that these two backers are going to be over here somewhere, okay? Now, you see what we've got, just really the guard kicking out and the tackle pulling around like they normally would. That's just to show them that they can't let up, get lazy on this play. They've got to sell it over here. But what's going on is your quarterback is coming out and actually going to get behind, all right, the blocks of the 2 and 3 here. So you've got really a counter off of a counter. Now your quarterback is going to get behind two blockers out here. These backers maybe nowhere to be found. You can log this end or backer right here, and now you've got your 3 back on a corner, and really your free safety could be the only one that you have to block. Let's see what that looks like against an odd front. Right, here it is with the safety coming down, really the same thing, just blocking down with the tackle. You just got to teach this 2 back, the near back, all right, that he's got to get up and out, all right? You got to make sure that he gets on the outside shoulder of this end, and it's that collision you hope happens on his side of the line of scrimmage. You might even have this 2 back sheet out and up a little bit before the snap. And then we've got all of that in the coaching notes over here as well. Okay, let me go back to the playbook. I think we looked at all of them. Okay, now I've got 2 video examples here I want to show you. And we've got the plays drawn up. These are plays we drew up during this past football season. And the first one I want to show you is, let's go show you a play that the Redskins ran against the Cowboys. I think that's who it is. And as you can see right here, what's going on is you've got the quarterback is opening up over here. They're bringing this number 10 in motion right here. And 10's coming out and really just trying to carry the corner. And he does that. But now what you've got is a handoff underneath to 15, kind of the jet sweep type thing we were talking about. You've got a puller. The left guard, number 77, is pulling. All right, kicking out number 90 for the Cowboys out here. You got a double team, just like we talked about. But really, the thing I want you to look at here, this is a very complex play that I don't even know if I'd run in high school, much less youth football. But I want you just to look at the movement that they get on the linebackers and the safeties with this play, because that is the essence of what you're going to be doing too. You've got to get movement on the second level players. Let's go here and see if I can find it here. Right here it is. All right, so now, pretty basic front. But here's the guy coming in motion. And you can see what he's doing is he actually fakes it to that guy. And that's just to widen his corner down here. But then he's going to hand it underneath to the second guy. All right, so there he is. Now, watch the puller. Watch the technique of the left guard, because that technique won't change for your players. So on the snap of the ball, he throws his elbow. He throws his right elbow, points his toe. He is running right down that line to kick out whatever he sees. Now, it could be a different kind of counter where he were to turn up. In this case right here, he's going to kick it out. He's coming. He wants to put his hat on the inside. He's got a pretty easy job because the defensive end has come up the field. All right, so he kicks him out. Hat in the right place. Blocks him with his shoulder. All right, let's go back. Now we've got a double team on this 3 technique, or this tackle inside. I'll show it to you from the end zone too. So there's your double team. Now because of the way the defense is played, there isn't a backside backer, so this tackle is going to come off and go front side right here. All right, now watch the back here. Watch number 25. So the back, and because the quarterback is now heading this way and faked, and they can see the ball pulled right there, watch what happens to the linebackers here. 1, 2, 3, all going this way right here, because this could be a speed option or something out here. Same kind of plays that I was showing you earlier. All right, so now you look at what happens. This backer misreads it so much on the counter that he gives that tackle a chance to get outside of him. It ends up being a pretty good play for an NFL. You know, the NFL is harder to gain yardage than it is some of the other leagues. But let's look at that once again. Let's watch the linebackers. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to move the second level players anytime you run a counter. All right, let's go back over here. Let's take a look at another play that I've got. All right, so this is a Clemson, really just a speed option. I call it a draw counter, all right, where you've got everything starting over here to the right. Now, the thing I want you to look at, and the reason I chose this play is that the blocking scheme is so simple that really it is a youth football league blocking scheme. Everybody is really turning to their left, almost gap blocking to their left. And then they're losing their player over the top to the right because everything looks like it's going to be a speed option out here. You've got, you know, Trevor Lawrence and the great back, I can't remember his name, starts with an E, I probably just can't pronounce it, but probably the best back in the country next year, coming out here going to the right. And so everything over here is going to the right, but then it comes back. It's just the same back. He's going to put his right foot in the ground, come back over here and hit it to the play side, all right? But by that time, you've got everybody on the defense flowing this way. And you also have, well, no, you don't have an unbalanced formation, but you just got a tight end on the backside. So let's take a look at this play. Okay, so you can see you've got really the tight ends off the ball over here. You've got pistol. Everything's looking like it's going to go to the field. So now this has got speed option written all over it. Now, once again, let's watch these linebackers right here. Everybody's taking off to the field. Now, watch the blocking scheme of the offensive lineman. It couldn't be any simpler. You could block this scheme right here with 7- and 8-year-olds. Everybody just turns to the boundary, but they're going to lose their players over the top. Now, they don't even block 1 or 2 of them in here, but they understand that this ball's coming back over here, so there's not going to be a great chance to make a play. Now, it doesn't hurt to have the best running back in the country in this situation right here, but look at what the tackle does. Patient enough, just lose your player back over here, and then leak out to the counter side. Now this poor corner has got a 300 and some pound tackle on him. Not a good situation to be in. So we don't have the end zone of that, but I think you get the idea right there to where all we're trying to do here is move these second level players and just let this back do the work in this case right here. You watch the backfield action. He just underneath handoff, Lawrence hands it to him with his left hand. Got to make that one miss, and the rest is history. Okay. Let's get back over here to the screen with the plays on it. We can dive into some others if we need to. Kendall, we have any questions yet?
We do. So this one came in pretty early at 9:14, and they asked about naming our fullbacks number 4.
Well, once again, we just have a system here. Let me go in and there's no rhyme or reason for that. I mean, in other words, you can name your players a first down playbook, whatever you want to name them. In other words, you can see down here, we've got, with the 1 back, we've got just the 2. And I'm going to open up the play right here just to show you what I'm talking about. I mean, if you come into our plays and you want to edit that play, I mean, if you want that to be your fullback, then it's as easy as that. In fact, you might just want it to be your F or whatever. So you can change that to whatever you want. That's just a system we started with, because when you get into F, H, R, and all of that, and we do that at the varsity level, but when you get into that, then you kind of, you get into different systems. So all we're trying to do right here is just try to keep a system of 1, 2, 3, 4. But you could do it any way you wanted to.
To piggyback off that, I talked to a lot of our youth coaches, and some of them will put a kid's initials. Some of them will color code and tell a kid, you're green all season long. So there's a lot of different options, and yeah, numbers, absolutely. There's a lot of different options you can do within First Down Playbook. Absolutely.
That's what we try to do. I mean, we're trying to make this to where, if I'm coaching 6, 7, 8-year-olds, the one thing I want is I want big pictures. The smaller they are, even that varsity one I showed you there a little bit when we're showing the NFL and the college, that's kind of small. But if you've got big pictures, color pictures, the ability to teach with color, initials, and numbers is critical, I think, of young players. Any other questions about the counters?
Yes, so this next question comes from Jerome. Do you use different formations to help the counter play? If so, what are your suggestions?
Yeah, Jerome, and that goes back to the initial thing I showed you, how many different formations and ways to run the counter, and we haven't even, that's the tip of the iceberg. But if the thing that you want to do with a counter play, all right, and let me get to, I can stay on this one right here. This is different. I'm going to exit out of here and get on a pretty basic counter play, and I just want to show you what my thoughts are. So this is unbalanced, and you got to be careful about that too. So let's go in here. I think of where I want to go. But I think that your formation needs to be where you're actually running the formation, Jerome, out of whatever you're going to run your base play out of. I'm going to type in counter here and let it load up. Because if you're going to run a counter, you want to run it off of your base play like I talked about earlier. And so if you're running your base play out of a 3-by-1 formation or something like that, then I think that's the way you ought to run your counter. So let me go in here and just trying to pick a good one for you. Let's just go right here. So this is as balanced up as you can get, but you can see, like we looked at before, that we were running it, off of speed option over here. But I think that if you're going to run the counter back, some of the considerations that you have to have are what's going to happen on the back side. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to pick just a basic 5-2. All right, I want to edit this. And where I'm going with this is that if you want to run this out of, a counter and you want to have a wing over here, you can do that. All right. And if that's the formation that you're running, I know that's an illegal formation right there. Don't get me wrong. But if that's the formation that you're running your base play out of, all right, then that's what I would do. But you always have to be aware if you do something like that, all right, and you're over here and you're unbalanced, or if you're over here and you're running to a wing formation and you're leaving an open end over here, you got to be careful. You got to have your scheme to where you're going to be good on the backside without that backside blocker like I just did. So I don't think, Jerome, that it matters from a standpoint of anything other than making it look like your base play. If your base play is a sweep, I'm going to run my counter out of the same formation that I run my sweep. If my base play is a power, I want to run my counter off the same play formation I run my power. I hope I answered that. Kendall.
This next question comes from Paxton. What drill do you use to teach the counter steps?
Well, the drill itself would be really just having these guys, taking this right here. Paxton, two different things. I'm coming in here, these guys are gone, right? And I'm going to take my backfield in a situation like this, and I'm going to drill these 4 guys right here, or 4 players, I should say, over and over and over again. And the footwork, if you're just asking, what you got to do is every counter is a little bit different. But if I'm coaching this footwork right here for my tight end, what I'm talking about is he's going to open up at 5 or 7 o'clock. And that's the way I teach with quarterbacks. And a lot of coaches do, not just the way I teach, but meaning that you've got a clock right here. And if I'm playing this play right here, I want him to open his left toe up at 7 o'clock, all right, and start reversing out as he comes over here. And then he's got to square up. And now I've got to make sure that my 2 gets out of the way, gets up in there. And then I've got to make sure there's some kind of mesh here with the 3 where they're in a proper relationship in case it is some type of option over here. And then what I've got the 4 back doing is counter stepping with his right foot, all right, and maybe just stepping over here 1, maybe 2, depending on what your timing needs to be, but then opening back up to the sideline with the right elbow up and taking the handoff, all right, as they take the ball. And now right here, as the quarterback hands this off, the quarterback actually wants to, once again, bend at the waist, stay low enough to where the second level people can't tell if they have the ball or not, and carry out a fake over here with some tempo. Don't just jog through the fake over here with the 1 and the 3 after the ball's handed off, because you've got a great opportunity to still hold the safety, hold the play side backer with this over here. But every counter, Paxton, every counter is going to have a little bit different footwork on it. But what you need to do is look at the one that you're going to run. And once again, I would always try to make sure that my first couple of steps in my counter with my backfield looked as much like the base play as I could, if that makes any sense. I want to make sure that as long as I can make it look like something that it's not to the defense, I want to do that. Kendall?
Antoine asked, in the double wing, how can you make the counter work without pulling linemen? Excuse me.
All right, well, let me get back over here to the double wing. I think the answer to your question, just in general. Who asked the question, Kendall?
Antoine.
Antoine, I'm gonna go in here a different way. Let's get into the double wing. And y'all see just how much, just how many plays we've got in the double wing here. All right, now, with all the plays that we got on the counter here, for the most part, you can see, Antoine, that we've got pullers. So essentially, what your question would be, I'm trying to see if we've got anything in here where we're not pulling. I don't think we do. The way that you might have to do it would be maybe with something with the jet sweep. I would say that if you want to run, if you ran something like this, this is pretty much a counter, all right, that you're running with a fake to the 4. So let's say that you've been running something over here with a 4. You could even motion if you wanted to. You could, we showed that a little bit earlier. You could motion this too. Let me get in edit mode and show you what I'm talking about. So if I were to take this 2 right here, and excuse my bad drawing here because I'm just trying to get through it, but I'm gonna motion him back here in the jet motion, or excuse me, into orbit motion. So if there's some kind of like dive option, you know, dive pitch over here, but then hand the ball off, nobody's pulling here at all. All they're doing is, just like that play I showed you earlier, they're blocking play side, and you're just handing it off to one of your wings. That would be the one way that I would think that you would do a counter without pulling. Another way might be with some type of boot where you didn't need to pull because you had enough backs to already get out in front of your quarterback. Kendall?
In your opinion, is power a good base play to run counter off of?
Hard, because if you're running the power now, remember, and anybody that was here the first week of the power, and I think we probably have got a power here in double wing. The definition of a power is that you're pulling the guard to the power side, right? So let's just go in here and we'll go back to youth offense. I'll see if I can find a power formation. If you're pulling the guard to the, you know, to the power side, it's hard to run a counter away from it. I'm not saying it's impossible, all right, but it's unlikely. I'll go to jumbo here just to give an example of what I'm talking about. I'm sure there's a power in jumbo. And maybe I'm missing something here with the question. I'm hoping there's a power in here. I'm gonna, here's the G lead, which is kind of the same thing as the power almost. In other words, you've got a guard pulling over here to this side. So kind of hard to run a counter, you know, with a guard pulling away. I'm not saying that you couldn't. You could have some type of deal. I've seen people run a power type play over here and the back take 1 step or 2 step and then come back over. It's kind of like a flip is what you call it. And everything over here, you're pulling, you know, you're pulling right here. Let me get to edit. The fact that you're pulling the left guard is going to do, you know, it's going to probably get this guy moving. So the fact that you get that, you get the moving, and what you do is you, once again, you have where this guy right here takes maybe a step or 2. And then he comes back. Once again, excuse my drawing. But what happens is this ball right here gets pitched. It's called flip. So it doesn't get pitched over here. It gets pitched back over here. So what happens is you've got a puller. All right, you got to make sure that you're going to hold up over here, but now your quarterback reverses out like it's going to be some kind of power or puller over here, and then the back takes a step to the right, comes back, and then you've got what's called flip over here to the left side. So that's kind of a counter that you could run off of the power, but it's hard to run a counter off of a power because you've got guards traditionally that would be pulling opposite directions. Kendall?
Those are all the questions we have so far.
Okay, well, let's, Kendall, why don't you, take a moment, guys, or coaches, I should say. I keep saying guys. I know we've got female coaches on here every week. Kendall, why don't you give them a little rundown here? And if you've got a question, throw them in there to Kendall before we get off here, and I'll finish up after you, Kendall.
The recording of this webinar, along with all of our past Youth Football Chalk Talk webinars, are inside First Down Playbook for our members. This one will be ready by tomorrow afternoon and will be found in the youth offensive section. If you're a youth football commissioner, thanks for joining us. Feel free to spread the word about these future webinars to all of your coaches. We have them every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. I know we have a lot of members on here, of First Down Playbook members on here, but if you aren't as familiar with First Down Playbook, besides what Charlie was just using today, we are the official playbook of USA Football. We have a database of over 35,000 football plays, and all of our plays have coaching points and player assignments for every position. All of our plays are editable, as you saw Charlie drawing and changing things here today, and you also are able to draw your own plays from scratch. You can easily print your wristband sheets right from your playbooks. We have a few different size options for adult all the way down to really small kids. We have both annual and 90-day season memberships available. Youth 90-day season memberships are $99.99, while annual subscriptions are just $199.99. For joining us tonight, you can get 10% off using the coupon code that I am sending right now to all of you. And you can use it at the link that's also sent there. We all know that there's still a lot of unknowns in the next few months of if we will play and whatnot, and what areas of the country will be open, which is why we have implemented our COVID-19 no play protection plan. If you have an individual First Down Playbook membership and your season gets canceled, you will get a full additional year on First Down Playbook. All you have to do is let us know and give us some verification of your season getting canceled, and we will take care of that for you. Again, feel free to use that coupon code that was sent there for 10% off, and that's for any subscription, 90-day or annual, and you can register at that link. You will all, if you're not already, be on any of our mailing lists, so we'll start sending out some emails with this coupon code and any other new information and different articles and things like that to you here in the next few weeks.
Okay, any other questions, Kendall?
Nope.
All right, gang, I appreciate it. I really do. You're looking at the schedule. We're halfway through it. We're going to come back in the next 5 weeks and talk about a 4-4 defense, Jet series after the 4th of July week, and then Bear defense, option run game. Then we'll focus really just exclusively on passes the last week. We've enjoyed this. It keeps getting bigger every week. And if you want to take a look at First Down Playbook, we got a free demo out there. 100% free, no obligation at the end of it. You can go in there and drag your players around and draw them just like I was tonight. But we appreciate you being here. Spread the word. If there's anything we can do better, feel free to let us know at info@firstdownplaybook.com or our phone number, which you're going to find on our website. Thank you very much. Y'all have a good week and be safe.